Community Conversations is a space that fosters conversation around topics important to us, with the purpose of creating an educational opportunity to teach, learn, work, and grow together. With your host, Ina.
Hi, and welcome to this first ever bonus episode of Community Conversations. We had too much to discuss and say last time, so we thought, why not continue? So first, Danny, could you give us a short recap of what we talked about?
Yeah, 100%. So, of course, 2 episodes ago, we were chatting about owning your story, and that led us to is owning your story feeding ableism. And so we got into the ideas and intricacies around identifying within our SB&H or disability community and working to own your story, working to be confident and be bold and step out into the world, so to speak, and be great. But then how some of doing that can be really, really challenging because it runs into this idea of potentially feeding the idea of ableism and having less of an impact than we'd like. So we dove into things like, how do we be anti as a disability community and able-bodied community? How do we be anti-ableist? How do we work to address some of these factors that go into kind of creating ableism and feeding ableism, online, offline, in life, period. And we dove into a bunch of those barriers, as well as we kind of talked about the unique scenario we have here, in that I am in our group, only able-bodied human that never uses a wheelchair or walking aids or anything of that sort. And we kind of chatted about those 2 perspectives and learnings that I've personally had over the years, and how I try and be an ally and anti-ableist in the ways that I can. And then we also we started with the definition of what is ableism to begin with, and that was with the Diva. Diva, do you want to throw that out there again?
Sure. Well, ableism is a term that implies derogatory attitudes towards people with disabilities. An ableist approach defines people with disabilities as their disability and values their capacity as lower. And there's another term that is disableism, which is direct discrimination against people with disabilities.
Good.
Yeah.
We're all on board.
Yes.
So very, very huge part of coming out of the ableism mindset in our society is media's role. So my question is to you: what responsibility do you think media have in working towards anti-ableism?
Can I dive in there? I know we've talked about it before, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast, and it's a theme that comes up. But representation is so incredibly important. And some of the best ways that I've heard it is if that young person who say uses a wheelchair doesn't see themselves on a TV or on the internet or in places of power or in rooms that matter and people know matter, then that young person is not going to grow up thinking that could be me. I could be there. Or they're less likely, not to say they won't, but they're maybe less likely because they don't see themselves there. They just don't identify with the person that they're seeing. So I think that representation through the lens of media and what how media tells stories and who's telling the story. Who's telling the story is very important. And again, I often come back to young people. So if that young person is not seeing themselves on the news, on the TV, on the internet, in being successful and in important rooms and in important conversations, they may or may not feel empowered to be that person someday. Yeah.
Do you have anything else, Alexis? Or
I think sometimes, if somebody with a disability is portrayed in the media, but then they don't actually have a disability, it's almost to me like, well, why not? You know what I mean? There's a show now. Has anybody who watched 911? Or Disney?
No.
Okay. So they have a character who has cerebral palsy. It's obvious he has a disability. But I'm like, we need more people like that, because when you fake it, it's like, okay, it's kind of cool, but why can't you just have a disabled person out there in the public? And
Yeah, agreed.
And actually, hold on. You're on the move. Hold on. A few years ago, I went to Toys R Us to buy a gift for a child, but I got this. And it was so cool. I mean, I had one like a long time ago, but she wasn't very stylish, and I'm like, but then I went to Toys R Us and I came out with this.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's a great example of representation.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with kids and how you're being fed stuff when you're a kid, and so both if you yourself has a disability and are using a wheelchair, or if you have a friend that uses a wheelchair, that is perfect. Or I'm thinking of here in Sweden, we had a few years ago a young woman that has cerebral palsy, that was a kids TV host, and that was so perfect, because she herself did it in such a way that it was so natural
Mm.
Of course, when she started, she opened up to the kids, like,
Yeah.
hi, and I, as you can see, using a wheelchair, and it's because I have this disability, and if you have any question, just write in. And so she had different different segments answering kids' questions.
Yeah.
That was so perfect, and I remember several friends of mine, their kids, then felt they had the space to ask me why I'm in a wheelchair. And I mean, kids are not complicated at all.
No, they're so innocent too.
No. So they ask, why are you in a wheelchair? And it's we as adults complicate things. I don't know if I shared this on any other episode, but I have worked in preschools and schools, so both with like 1 and 2-year-olds and up to like 10. The when I learned this, it was like this big epiphany. I think it was a kid. She was, I think, around one or two. As kids ask, why are you in a wheelchair? And my stupid self, I feel stupid now, or I felt stupid then, started to blah 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 blah. By the middle of sentence 2, the kid turned around and walked off. I then learned that it's enough to have just one sentence.
Yeah.
And often that one sentence is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 out of 10 kids up to 10-year-old,
Yeah.
I believe, that one sentence is enough.
Mm.
So that's my tip of the day.
That's incredible.
For
Yeah.
all of you.
Incredible.
I think too, like my niece, she's 4. She is so compassionate. Like one time I almost cried. She said to me, I wish I had an elevator in my house so you can come upstairs. So innocent. But I was like, well, you know what? I can like go up my bum and go upstairs, which I could. And she goes, you know what? I do that too. So in her own way, but she was so genuine, like, I wish I had an elevator in my house. Like, you know. So
Incredible.
when they're exposed to it,
Yeah.
they sort of not totally get it, but they get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're more compassionate about it. So I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And I think it's interesting because whether it be like a family member or friend or somebody you teach or work with that like gives you that broader sense of perspective, or like the media, the more we can receive that, the more the more we start as a society to have a broader sense of what is this idea of quote unquote normal. Again, because if we're not seeing it, and if it's not getting that exposure that it needs and deserves, then we as a society will only ever have a perspective that is so broad. But sorry, just to bring it back to that media piece, I think the media has an incredible ability to be able to change the shape of, to influence better human rights, to influence and break down stigma and barriers and things of that nature. I know here in Canada, the CBC is also like we've applied for different arts grants and stuff before that are rooted specifically in projects that are geared towards inclusivity and ableism and things that are working through the arts, whether it be music or visual arts, so on and so forth, are actively working to be anti, to break down those things, to be able to create better representation and tell the stories that people need to hear, and that will start to continue, or not start, but continue to change the shape of, again, what is this idea of normal in the world, and broad in perspective. And I think perspective is so, I'm going to stop rambling, but perspective, I think anyways, is the key. I'm so grateful from past to present in life that I've had the experiences and friends that I've had, because I've learned through every one of them, and that has created a more just a broader perspective for me, and I'm really grateful for that, and I hope that everyone and anyone in the world could be so lucky to get to have a perspective that is bigger than just the one they're born into, we'll say. Yeah.
Super important.
But for that you need exposure.
Heck yeah.
Which is up to all of us.
Yeah.
Really. Not everyone with a disability is going to be able to do things that I do. So I think that the people that can do something and want to do something will have to live with the fact that you're going to be seen as a person that represents people with disabilities. At least for a while, until that. I mean, I don't think that we're ever going to escape the fact that we are going to be called disabled or not, because we don't have special needs, but they are. Well, there's nothing special about the needs of people with disabilities. They're just different.
Needs.
Sorry?
They're just needs.
Yeah, they're just needs.
And we all have needs, regardless of how we live in the world.
We all have them. But I don't know where I was going with this.
It's all good.
My brain just went to sleep. I'm sorry. Well, there's nothing special about our needs. We just do things that not many people are used to. It's a different way of doing things. Like someone is right-handed, another person is left-handed. And there are some people that can use the both hands, which I'm very jealous of.
I can.
I don't
jealous
like
of
you
that,
anymore.
Sorry, but I like you.
I'm jealous about that too. Come on, Lexi.
I can, yeah. And actually, my writing with my left is better than my writing with my right.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not jealous. Not at all.
I'm not jealous. You're jealous.
Yeah, exactly. It's you. It's not me. No, but where I was going with this is that I am around a lot of people within disability community because I do the voluntary work that I do, and I hear a lot of this. I'm not here to be your inspiration. I'm not here to be your hero. I'm not here to pave the way. I'm not. But I'm sorry, you are, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Because as long as you are amongst other people that actually recognize you and see what you're doing, you are kind of representing the people with disabilities, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And to reference it to media and the idea of making things more normal. I mean, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the idea of women's ice hockey or women's soccer had like this amount of space in media, if any. And now, I mean, it's slowly turning to being named as just soccer or ice hockey. Like not. I mean, in the beginning, or in some way, maybe even now, there is like women hockey and hockey, and like no, wait, stop.
Hockey.
Yes, hockey. So what I was going with this is the more times something is being represented or shown on TV and media, and if we as citizens pressure media to show more of Paralympics. Which when we're recording this, it started today. And I remember when I was in high school, I was in special skiing high school. So half of my school days was skiing and training. And I remember as a 16 to 20-year-old, how when the Olympics was shown, then it was like 24/7, and we were all cramped up in this little tiny TV room in our in my dorm for 2 weeks, and I mean my classmates had role models to look up to.
Yeah.
Then skip to when it was time for Paralympics. I mean, back then we didn't have a very successful sit ski / mono skier, which I so looked up to. I mean, he was the reason I even applied for that high school. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have thought of the idea of going to this ski.
That's huge.
High school.
Yeah.
Yes, and back then, Swedish national TV sent a recap, a 20 or 15 minutes recap, 11 p.m. every night, 20 minutes recap.
Wow.
I remember I got so angry, I emailed saying this whole story that I just shared.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that every time the Paralympics was showing. Not matter if it was winter or summer. And I remember during my 4 years in high school how it slowly increased in viewing. So by now they actually show it on national TV the same time as it's shown in the Paralympics, which this year it's from China. So here in Sweden, if you like today wanted to see Sweden take bronze medal in standing downhill, then you had to set the time for like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I didn't do, but so yes, but they showed it, and so perfect.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Very
And I
good.
think, sorry.
No.
I do dancing, and we're paired with able-bodied people. And I think one of my proudest moments is CTV came, and I did a piece on it. Wasn't very long, but it doesn't matter. But I got it out there. Do you know what I mean? So people were like, "That is so cool! You do that." So it's getting the word out. So we just gotta get the word out. Like that's the main thing.
It actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, Alexis, because originally years ago when we did this, we were really sorry when we started a Song and City and we came home. A friend of mine worked at CTV, and so we've been back and forth, and we ended up having a chat with Pauline Chan at CTV on I think it was um, the lifestyle section of CTV,
Cool.
or something. But we did it at the then Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Ontario office. It was very interesting because, and this is another thing that I think way back when I was like, whoa, what the heck? Like, I didn't say it like that. Because there was a lot. So I told my story through the lens of hydrocephalus. I have spina bifida occulta, but hydrocephalus is the story I most identify with. And so they told it through the lens of spina bifida, which, okay, okay, like the purpose of the story is still there, but like that's not how I told it.
Mhm.
And that's really hard because I still look back at that and I cringe a little bit because first of all, just some of the things and how I said it, I was very young, and just some of the things and how I phrase things, I was like, oh, I would definitely I wouldn't say it like that anymore. Oh, gross. So that was a learning for me, but then it was just so interesting because, Alexis, to your point, I took a moment to think, that's not how we told it, but the story's still being told. The story's being told. This purpose is not about my story. It's not about my story. It's about our collective representation and story. So if, say, the mainstream media is latching on to spina bifida because spina bifida is maybe more of a mainstream conversation than hydrocephalus, and it's more widely, talked about or known of a little bit, even though there's still a lot of learning to do and people still don't know what spina bifida is. But for whatever reason, I just sat with that for a while and I was like, it's weird that they spun the story, but I also get it. I understand it. This isn't about my story. This is about our collective body and our collective story and representation and awareness. And if that's how they're spinning it, it's not super inaccurate. So like, whatever. It's just weird because it's not how I told it per se. But that, it's interesting because I know I've learned that, especially through the lens of media, you have to take those things sometimes, or like newspaper articles or things like that. You have to take things with a grain of salt sometimes, and I know I've just had to not take things literally sometimes, because I've also reminded myself, Danny, you're probably maybe the only one that's like watching this and being as critical as you are. Maybe there's other people, but I think we're always our own worst critic.
Yeah.
I know I still am. And so I know I had to take some time with that specific one to go, oh, it was so great, but like, are people going to get angry at me? That's not how I told the story. Like that's weird, but it's still serving a purpose. It's still serving something bigger than just me. So like this wasn't created for me or whatever. So like, so long as it's serving its purpose, and for me, I came to the conclusion that, okay, it's still serving, the awareness piece and anyways, just very interesting through that lens.
Yeah. The moral of this whole conversation, I think we can all agree on, is the more times you see or hear something in the media, the more mainstream it's getting, and less of a
Yeah.
what is this type of feeling. And also maybe the importance of which words you use. That's a whole other conversation.
Also, from what angles do we show people with disabilities and their stories? Because there's this strange division between heroes and superhumans and weak little victims. And we're neither, and both. All of us. I mean, we're victim in someone's story, and we're hero in somebody else's story.
Very important.
Can I, sorry, just to that point, because I know he's been doing some really cool things through America's Got Talent Extreme Edition, Aaron Wheels, and I've had through a human who's been on the podcast and on the live stream, Ginger O'Dwyer. Through her, I had the pleasure and privilege, and have had the pleasure and privilege of being at the same event with him a couple of different times. And it's really, really interesting to see him living with spina bifida, doing the incredible things he's doing in the world, but to then also know that, like, I sat at a table just chatting with him, and he's one of the most, like, humble, kind, beautiful, like, just... he's just living his best life and doing the best that he can do, and also aware that his ability to reach people through the literally extreme things he does is really, really cool, and moves and swings the pendulum, moves the needle forward, if I may. But beyond, like, this, on TV coming across as, like, this hero of, like, this dude in a wheelchair, he's really just, like, he wanted to do that thing, so he did that thing. And he continues to push it, and he knows that, like, it's really cool as a human who lives with spina bifida to have another young human who lives with spina bifida look up to him and say, Wheels did it. Wheels does it. Wheels did it. I can do it. I can get on America's Got Talent. But it's really just so cool to see how humble and how just, like, just kind of in line with, I guess, what you were saying, Diva. He's just like this super chill, casual dude who found his passion, and now he's just pushing it as far as he can. It's just so cool to see that for our community, but just also recognize how how much of both of those things, like a hero, an inspiration, whatever you want to call it, and just a human living their best life,
doing what they want to do,
yeah, that's it,
with their disability, not in spite of.
100%.
That
100%.
is when I hear things like, oh, it's so cool you're doing that in spite of your disability. That pisses me off. Because I'm not doing anything in spite of my disability.
I'm just doing it.
It's like saying to me, you're outside despite of having a bad hair day.
You're outside despite it snowing today.
What a effing hero I am.
Yeah,
My God.
I live in Canada. I have to go outside, so I'm going outside. It's cold out.
Good for you, Mr. Lamb. Good for you.
I want a medal. I want a medal. I went outside today.
I think that that was that was and is a great way of ending this bonus.
Yeah.
Being like all the rest of you watching, we're just human beings living normal lives. Some of us want to do extraordinary things like jumping or running down a I don't know what's
You're doing great. You're doing great, Ina.
what Wills did. I just watching that video with the camera going
Right?
makes me-
Right?
So
That was awesome.
Yeah. So good.
I wouldn't do it, but it was awesome.
kudos to Wills and everyone else doing extraordinary things. And I think we all need a reminder that we don't need to do these extreme things to be I can find the correct word now. But do you know what I mean? Can you help me?
To be seen.
To be best
To be
word.
seen.
To be seen.
Seen,
Yes.
heard, valued.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There we go.
As a functional human being,
Heck yeah.
being part of society, because
Heck yeah.
that is something we all strive for, and
Heck yeah.
that shouldn't even be an issue. But since it is, we need to keep talking about it. And I think by all the small things we do as a group and individuals and everyone else watching and all you see on TV, here on radio, and all that you don't see and hear in the media, keep pushing, keep striving forward, or because in 5 or 10 years, what we see now as our reality, we can look back on as past. So every little thing forward is still forward. And please keep the conversation going, you guys.
Comment below. Comment below. Say hi.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Say hi. Heck
Huh?
yes. Heck
Dina,
yes.
did you wanna?
I forgot.
Okay.
My brain today isn't on, apparently.
Okay.
That's
It's
okay.
Saturday. The weather is
Yes,
the weather getting is the weather getting nicer there?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
tomorrow I am going to wake up stupid o'clock to go to a spinning class. That is going to last for at least 4 hours.
Woo.
Oh my
What
god.
what time is stupid o'clock?
At 6 something
Oh
on a
Lord,
Sunday.
no.
Oh yeah, that's early on a Sunday.
Yeah, no thanks.
That's early on a Sunday, Diva.
So that is the one extreme thing I'm going to do this week.
Oh my god. Just know I love you, but I will never wake up at 6 a.m. with you on a Sunday.
That's not my earliest.
Danny,
Yes.
what if I bought you smart ass coffee?
No.
No?
Not on a
Not
Sunday.
into that?
No.
Okay.
That same coffee can wait till 9 or 10
True.
on a Sunday. On a Sunday. During the week, absolutely. Maybe even on a Saturday. Sunday, no.
I think we now say goodbye to all that is watching us,
A
and
kiss.
see you next time
Yeah.
Okay.
for
Yeah.
another conversation.
Blah, blah,
Subscribe, comment, let yourself be known. Bye.
Bye.
See you.